Hey everybody, and welcome back to Comic-Booksters. As always, I'm Nerdcore, and I'm here with Obi the boy.
Welcome back to Comic-Booksters.
Logan came out in theaters this past week, and both me and Obi had the chance to go and see it in our respective theaters. Long story short, this is Hugh Jackman's final performance as Wolverine, and from here on out, expect spoilers. So, Logan is the story of Wolverine, his days of an X-Men long behind him. About a year previously, Xavier had developed Alzheimer's and had a seizure, which caused him to kill a whole bunch of people in the Westchester area, about 600, including, I believe it was 7 of the X-Men. So Logan is now sequestering him with the assistance of Caliban down below the border in a Yoshida-owned smelting factory. Xavier's actually holed up in the old water tower and is having his powers dampened to keep his attacks in check. In the meantime, someone tracks down Wolverine, who has saved a little girl from a cloning facility where they're growing new mutants. There haven't been mutants born, I want to say, in about 20 years. And she's murdered. He's forced to take this child in. It turns out she's technically his daughter, X-23, and her and Xavier go on the run from the Reavers and some semblance of the Weapon X program. And in the very end, ends up fighting a clone of himself and dying to save all these kids.
That wraps it up very briefly. I do like that.
Yeah,
that's a good overview.
It's. I thought it was a good summary.
So what did you think about this after you left the theater? What was your initial thoughts?
It's kind of what I think of every time I see an X-Men movie, more or less. Best case scenario, it was a good movie. I wouldn't have called it a great movie, but it was a good movie. And they definitely, if they're going to use Wolverine again, which I kind of think they have to, he is their moneymaker as far as those movies are considered, they should recast the role. I think they really should have done that back in X-Men Apocalypse. And they still could have made Logan with Hugh Jackman as his send-off, and it would have been fine. But I think now they definitely, are going to need to recast that role. But it was a great send-off for Jackman. I would call it a good film. I wouldn't call it a great film.
But do they really need to recast it? Because with all new Wolverine, they already had X-23 take over the moniker of Wolverine, so wouldn't they just
They're going to
do
keep
that?
making these movies like this new one that's supposedly in the works, which is a retake of the Phoenix Saga. I'm pretty sure they're going to need a Wolverine.
Couldn't they just use a female Wolverine instead of the male Wolverine? I'm just playing devil's advocate here.
I mean, they could. It wouldn't really fit their timeline. This storyline takes place in 2029, and from what I'm understanding, the next X-Men film is going to be set in the 1990s.
Okay, that makes sense. So yeah. And they're not, this isn't going to be another reboot, is it?
No, it's going to be in line with the First Class timeline, which was First Class, Days, and then Apocalypse.
Alright, so you might, because Hugh Jackman shows up in those, so you might not see another Wolverine in that movie.
You might not. This is why I think that they really should have recast Wolverine back during X-Men Apocalypse, or just not have shown his face full on, or maybe put the helmet over top of him, as is the Weapon X storyline. Because, now they kind of do have a problem where they've already got Jackman as Wolverine in that timeline.
He shows up in First Class, also, don't forget.
He does. And it was just a fun little cameo. But honestly, I just think that Wolverine's such a key part to what makes that franchise successful at this point. I mean, loath as I am to admit that, it's just the facts on that.
That's because you're a Cyclops fan, right? Still Cyclops fan?
Yeah. but I'm advocating for Wolverine. I mean, that's...
No, I
I
was
don't
just
see how
saying.
that plays into it.
No, I was just saying because I know that people who like Cyclops in the comics don't always want to root for Wolverine, even if it's in the movies, even if it makes them.
It's not
feel
that I
to watch
dislike
their
Wolverine,
favorite
Obi.
franchise. I didn't say you did dislike Wolverine. I was saying most people who enjoy Cyclops don't root for Wolverine. I was just saying that's generally a rule of thumb.
All right. Well, anyway, back to Logan as a movie. We can suppose all we like about whatever's coming after X-Men Apocalypse. And that's kind of my fault for getting us on that tangent. But, I liked it. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. I liked it. That's really, as sad as I am to say, that's really all I have to say about it. I think my favorite thing about it was the new take on Charles Xavier. That was something that we hadn't really seen out of Patrick Stewart before, which really made it fresh, and I highly enjoyed his attitude at being held against his will and trying to teach Logan, even after all these years, what a family is supposed to be.
Yeah, I would have to say Patrick Stewart stole this movie for me. He was by far the best actor in this movie, and you could tell.
And I did highly enjoy, I assume what the X-24 clone of Wolverine was a call out to Albert, who figured into the Reavers storylines before in the Wolverine comics, which I thought that was a nice little touch, a cool little Easter egg for comic fans. It had some cool call outs. Things that disappointed me, like I thought it was a cool story. At least this is a Wolverine movie that doesn't fall apart in the third act, which I was really impressed with. Origins fell apart immediately, and the Wolverine got through the first two acts and then fell apart at the climax. And this one I felt was pretty solid all the way through at the very least, which I liked. But I feel like, and it's a problem that Marvel movies have, and I feel like it kind of bled over into this, and it's not necessarily something that the X-Men villains have always had up until recently. I didn't feel like there was a lot of depth to the villains of this movie.
I can see where you can say that, but I never thought that there was a lot of depth to the whole Weapon X program initially anyway.
I'm more in line with the Reavers on this, just because, one, I always thought Donald Pierce was kind of a cool villain. Here he's kind of subverted to secondary lackey to Professor Rice, whose father bit it in X-Men Apocalypse, and he holds a grudge against Wolverine and mutants in general because of that. But, one of the coolest things about the Reavers is, and I'm sure you're aware of this, Obi, is that they are made up of, in the comics at least, of the Hellfire Club guards that Wolverine had to hack his way through back during the beginning of the Dark Phoenix saga. That's why they all got cybernetic implants, was because Wolverine cut them to pieces, and editor Jim Shooter did not think that Wolverine should be able to kill at that time, so he made them be brought back as cyborgs. But they're kind of like a cyborg Wolverine revenge squad, and I thought that would have been a cool touch to have there in the movie. Instead, they're just cyborgs for the hell of it.
Yeah, I mean, I do get what you're saying there. They are kind of cyborgs for the hell of it. It wasn't even like they made them stronger, because they all had, it was like one arm. It would have been more interesting if they had two arms where you couldn't just like cut them off or whatever.
I feel like that's a
I thought one of the
giant
coolest
missed
scenes though was
opportunity
when he
there,
was fixing
because
his hand
that's a cool little
and then
touch
put
that
it back
really
on.
could have worked, especially since it's a Wolverine film technically. Also, how do you use the Reavers without actually having a bone breaker whose bottom half is actually a tank and the top half's a guy? That's also a giant, like that's a cool visual. But I feel like that's the story of the X-Men franchise at Fox. Like, they make, at best, good movies, but you can't help but see the missed opportunities if you know the lore. I mean, obviously, casual fans and passing moviegoers, this is nitpicky stuff. But, if you know the lore, I mean, there's some really cool visuals that you could get out of something like that just seem to be bypassed entirely.
Yeah, because I was sitting... my theater that I went to, I don't know about when you guys went, was packed. I went on Thursday night, and for the first time in a few times I've went to opening nights, there was not an empty seat, which I don't know if that says what Wolverine brings to a movie, which is why they always want to have a Wolverine movie, or what. And I had casual fans next to me, and you could tell because they were asking questions during the middle of it, and I'm like, I just want to watch this movie.
It was pretty packed when me and our friend Twice Nice went for his birthday. That was my treat to him. And it was a very packed theater. But, it was a positive audience reaction, which is better than what I can say for something like X-Men Apocalypse. It made people laugh. It made people cry. And that's the first time that I really feel like an X-Men movie's done that.
Yeah, you mean you didn't cry at the end of X-Men 3?
Not for the right reasons, I don't think.
That's why I was
I mean,
laughing.
I shed a tear during that whole bridge sequence when it was day and then it was night. Like that was, that made me shed a tear just from a video editing standpoint. Uh, I don't really, I don't really think that's what they were intending. I think I shed another tear when Vinnie Jones referenced "I'm the Juggernaut, bitch."
I was gonna
That really
say.
had no place there. Yeah. I mean, I cried during X-Men 3 for the wrong reasons, I think.
Yeah, that's a cringe. It's definitely a cringe-worthy movie.
Any issues you had regarding the film at all? I mean, I know you and I kind of share the same opinion of good but not great, so I'd be...
Yeah, it was good, but it wasn't like I don't understand these ginormous positive reviews on this movie. I didn't think it was anything groundbreaking, even from a Wolverine standpoint or like a comic movie standpoint. Like then I don't want to compare it to an MCU movie because it's from Fox, but and they have like a program when they make movies, but I watched Doctor Strange the next night, and I had more fun watching Doctor Strange again, where I knew everything was going to happen, than I did leaving the theater after watching Logan, where I was just questioning what I watched. That's just
Yeah,
me.
I mean, yeah, there's a difference there. I didn't really think it was anything groundbreaking really either. I honestly think maybe it's the best one that's come out since Days of Future Past or X-Men 2. X2 was probably what I consider the pinnacle of that series.
I think First Class myself is the pinnacle of that series.
Yeah, I don't,
Yeah,
maybe I'd rank it if I'm taking X-Men movies, it goes X2 for sure. And then Days of Future Past, and then I think I would put Logan right below that. And then First Class, and then the Wolverine, and then everything else just kind of fills. Then the first X-Men, and then everything else just kind of fills in as a pile of refuse behind that.
I I I don't. I mean, I don't know. I enjoyed the Wolverine more than I did enjoy watching Logan. I don't know if it's because Wolverine was still alive at the end. I don't know if that made me unhappy. I'm not sure. I just didn't
On that,
like. I didn't like this. The movie's good, but I don't like this movie. Like, I don't see me going. I'm gonna watch Logan today.
it's a tragedy, really. I mean, it's something that it's a sad film. It like not production wise or anything, but I mean the storyline is sad. It's you're watching a man at the end of his life. I'll agree with this on some of the reviews is that it does share a lot of themes with a lot of westerns. The fact that they cut in
Shane,
clips from Shane, yeah, yeah, clips from Shane really speaks to it because it's essentially the same story or at least in a very similar vein to it. It's a sad movie and you're gonna have to be in the right mood to watch it. It's something that I'm probably gonna add to my collection, and I've kind of dropped off buying a lot of comic book movies recently, because especially the Marvel films, because a lot of them are so similar at this point. Like Doctor Strange was practically a clone of Iron Man, but it's something that I might add to my collection because every once in a while I get in the mood where I want to read or watch a sad story, and this is most certainly that. I do think that it's a shame that we couldn't get a Wolverine movie of this quality with, this kind of violence, allowing Wolverine to do Wolverine things, without, Wolverine being in his prime. Like, I would love to have seen, like, a contemporary Wolverine in his prime movie where he's just eviscerating people. The closest thing you get to that is the X-Men Origins Wolverine game, which is also saddled down by that terrible story that was in that movie. But that's it's minor complaints from me, I guess, like very nitpicky stuff. I see where, as far as positive reviews go with the X-Men franchise, it's definitely one of the best.
Oh yeah, I get that. I do. I'm not disagreeing with that statement whatsoever. It is one of the best X-Men movies. But if I want to watch a Western, I'm gonna go watch like Shane or any other Western. Shane's actually probably my favorite Western, actually. But
Oh, I
it's
wonder
just
why.
yeah. But it's I don't know. I'm gonna own it because I just will. But I don't know when I'll ever be in the mood to watch it.
Oh, I mean, that's something you're going to have to find out for yourself. Final thoughts on Logan?
It's a alright movie. If I had to put a grade to it, I mean, I'd give it a solid B. A solid B. Like, it's not the worst movie. It's not the greatest movie of all time. It moves along at a pretty good pace. I don't remember ever being sitting there being bored during it. But it left me wanting more. And not from Hugh
No, I
Jackman. I
can
mean, just
understand that.
more in general. Like, I feel like there was some plot points that weren't completely filled through. Yeah, that's just
I
me.
can understand that. And honestly, from a film standpoint, I'm going to try and look at this at two different ways. From a film standpoint, because my complaints I feel are very nitpicky about it, I would give it probably an A minus. Being that this is Comic-Booksters, and you and I are two comic fanatics. I from that standpoint, I would give it a B, just because of all my nitpicky crap that's in there.
I think it'll look better if they do this black and white, and they want to do it in like a noir form, or they want to. They're apparently the director wants to turn it all into black and white and do the blood in red. I I don't know. I don't know if it'll be better, but I think it would fit the story better.
Maybe, I don't know. That comes off a little bit too Frank Miller, and after the Spirit, I don't know, man.
Eggs on your face.
Yep.
I like to watch that movie to laugh. It's so funny.
Yeah, it's funny, all right.
Yeah, because it's terrible. It's the same reason I watch Elektra once a year.
Yeah, I always just thought that was because you were a sadomasochist.
No, that's why I watch Daredevil once a year.
I watch the Netflix show once a year.
Yeah, no,
Wow.
I'm not talking about the Netflix show. I'm talking about
Yeah.
the terrible Ben Affleck Daredevil. Which I can't watch anymore because they all got washed away in the flood. So I don't have those movies anymore.
Anyway, let us know what you thought about Logan in the comments section below. If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe to Comic Booksters. We'll bring you content once a week. Once again, I'm Nerdcore for Obi the Boy. Go see Logan. Draw your own conclusions.
Iron Man still sucks, hashtag.